From Pacifica, this is Democracy Now!
They have a program that was known as the Demographics Unit, informally inside the NYPD. The Demographics Unit, what they would do was they'd take ethnic officers out of the academy and drop them into ethnic neighborhoods where they would basically be the eyes and the ears of the NYPD.
Not a single lead. After years of spying on Muslim neighborhoods, infiltrating groups, and eavesdropping on conversations, the New York police admit its secret demographics unit never generated a lead or triggered any terrorism investigations. We'll go to the Associated Press, which won a Pulitzer Prize for uncovering the spy scandal. Then we turn to FBI spying on college campuses in the 60s.
Late 50s, early 60s, you see the FBI shift its focus to students who are engaged in political dissent. The FBI starts to investigate them and creates, actually has a list called the Security Index. And this is a list of people who are deemed potential threats to national security in the event of a national emergency, and who would be arrested without warrant and detained indefinitely during an emergency.
Part 2 of our conversation with Seth Rosenfeld, author of Subversives, the FBI's war on student radicals and Reagan's rise to power. And we remember Howard Zinn.
You cannot depend on presidents, and you cannot depend on elections and voting to solve your problems. People themselves organizing, demonstrating, clamoring, they are the only ones who can push the president and push Congress into change.
The late Howard Zinn was born 90 years ago today. All that and more coming up. Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. A Norwegian court has convicted mass killer Anders Behring Breivik for the bombing and shooting rampage that left 77 people dead 1 year ago. On July 22, 2011, Breivik set off bombs at government buildings in Oslo, killing 8 people before shooting dead 69 others at a Labour Party youth camp, most of whom were teenagers. Breivik has said he targeted the ruling Labour Party because its policies were too open to Muslim immigrants. In a long-awaited verdict earlier today, a 5-judge panel declared Breivik to be sane and fit for trial, sentencing him to 21 years behind bars. That's the maximum prison term under Norwegian law, but it can later be prolonged. At least 16 people have been killed in a U.S. drone attack in northwest Pakistan. Pakistani officials say the strike targeted a militant compound. It's unclear if any civilians died in the attack. The Obama administration's policy for drone strikes deems all adult male victims as militants unless exculpatory evidence emerges after their deaths. Tropical storm Isaac has picked up strength as it heads for the Dominican Republic and Haiti, but appears unlikely to reach hurricane strength before striking the island of Hispaniola. Forecasters now say Isaac may not reach hurricane status until Monday, when it will be somewhere over the Gulf of Mexico. On Thursday, Florida Governor Rick Scott attempted to allay concerns Isaac could threaten next week's Republican National Convention in Tampa, saying there are no plans to cancel the event.
Isaac's a unique storm in this regard. It has the potential to threaten a major convention designated a special national security event. That's why I have convened local, state, federal, and convention officials for a twice-daily briefing. The goal is to make sure everyone has the best information available, a complete picture of the situation, everything needed to make a good decision. These officials have been working together to plan the convention for the past 18 months. The possibility for a hurricane has been part of that planning process.
On the campaign trail, Republican candidate Mitt Romney has unveiled a new plan that would radically alter the nation's energy policy. On Thursday, Romney called for ending the long-standing federal regulation of oil and gas drilling and coal mining on government-owned lands and instead transferring responsibility over to the states. The move would mark a huge win for oil and gas companies, as states notoriously have weaker regulatory mechanisms than the federal government. Romney also vowed speedy approval of the Keystone XL pipeline from Canada's tar sands to the Gulf Coast. Speaking in New Mexico, Romney said his plan would lead the U.S. to energy independence.
This is not just a matter of economy, and jobs and rising incomes and a growing economy and more tax revenues, it's also more security. It means we don't have to rely on people who in some cases don't like us very much. That America will be able to stand on its own. We'll stand arm in arm with our friends from Mexico and our friends from Canada and assure that we have all the energy we need to keep America powered and to make sure that our military never has to borrow from someone across the ocean that might not be our best friend.
Romney unveiled his plan just days after taking in nearly $10 million from the oil and gas industry in 2 fundraisers. According to the New York Times, Romney's staff drafted his plan with energy industry executives, including the billionaire oil tycoon Harold Hamm. The murky details of Romney's fortune have come closer to the light with the release of a massive trove of internal audits and other documents for, quote, cryptically named entities in which Romney had invested. The website Gawker reports nearly all of the entities were linked to Bain Capital, the private equity firm Romney co-founded, and that many were offshore funds based in the Cayman Islands. Gawker says the documents, quote, reveal the mind-numbing, maze-like and deeply opaque complexity with which Romney has handled his wealth. The documents also reportedly show investments Romney described as part of his retirement package at Bain weren't made until years after he left the company. The regime of Syrian President Bashar al-Assad continues to launch attacks around the capital of Damascus in a bid to root out armed rebels. The opposition Syrian Observatory for Human Rights claims at least 100 people were killed in nationwide violence Thursday after some 200 died the day before. The family of a U.S. reporter covering the conflict in Syria has disclosed he's gone missing. Austin Tice, a freelance journalist, now law student, U.S. military veteran, hasn't been heard from in over a week. He'd intended to leave Syria earlier this month. Argentina's last dictator, Ronaldo Bignon, is facing a new trial over the kidnappings and disappearances of dissidents and the deliberate theft of babies from political prisoners. He and 2 other defendants are already serving jail sentences for other abuses under Argentina's military regime. A lawyer for grandmothers of the Plaza de Mayo said the defendants presided over the disappearances of thousands of people.
In this area where the military center was Campo de Mayo, an estimated 5,000 people disappeared. Among them were many women who were pregnant or who had young children that were kidnapped. Grandmothers are still looking for many of these children. They have found some of them, but they continue looking and also searching for justice for the disappearances and death of these people.
It's believed the Argentine military dictatorship killed at least 30,000 Argentines during its rule from 1976 to 1983. The 4th of 8 U.S. soldiers court-martialed in the death of Army Private Danny Chen has been punished with a demotion and a brief reduction in pay. A 19-year-old Chinese-American, Chen allegedly took his own life just weeks after he was deployed to Afghanistan last October. His family says Chen had been abused by comrades on an almost daily basis, including racist hazing, with soldiers throwing rocks at him, calling him ethnic slurs, and forcing him to do push-ups or hang upside down with his mouth full of water. In a summary court-martial, Sergeant Travis Carden was demoted to specialist and forced to give up 2/3 of his pay for a month. A former U.S. ambassador to Iraq and Afghanistan has been arrested in Washington state on charges of drunken driving and hit and run. Ryan Crocker was detained in Spokane Valley earlier this month after allegedly hitting a semi-truck and then driving away. He was found to have a blood alcohol content twice the legal limit. Crocker retired as the U.S. ambassador to Afghanistan earlier this year after previously serving as U.S. ambassador to Iraq. A group of immigration agents are challenging the Obama administration's policy suspending deportations for undocumented residents who came to the United States as children. The suit on behalf of 10 immigration agents was filed in Texas by Kansas Secretary of State Chris Kobach, who helped draft the controversial anti-immigrant laws in Arizona and Alabama and is an informal advisor to Republican candidate Mitt Romney. The suit alleges the Obama administration's Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program prevents agents from detaining immigrants who could threaten public safety. The new program grants temporary legal status to live and work in the country to undocumented people under 31 who meet certain conditions. Tens of thousands of young undocumented immigrants stood in massive lines across the United States to apply for deferred action when the policy went into effect last week. A federal judge has ruled the Tennessee Valley Authority is liable for a massive coal ash spill that polluted surrounding areas in 2008. The Kingston fossil plant spill released more than 1 billion gallons of toxic coal ash, burying homes and roads in what's believed to be the largest coal ash disaster in U.S. history. In a victory for hundreds of plaintiffs, Federal District Court Judge Thomas Varlan ruled Thursday the TVA can be held responsible for damages. And 6 activists with the environmentalist group Greenpeace have occupied a Russian oil rig to protest drilling in the Arctic. The rig belongs to the Russian state-owned energy giant Gazprom, which is set to become the first company to produce Arctic oil through drilling operations in the Pechora Sea. Greenpeace says its members have enough supplies to last them for days. The group includes Greenpeace's executive director, South African activist Kumi Naidoo. And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman.
And I'm Juan Gonzalez. Welcome to all of our listeners and viewers around the country.